Top 20 creepiest historic events that are scarier than horror movies. Number 20. Pope Pius XII's funeral procession. Pope Pius XI was Vatican sovereign from 1939 to 1958, aged 82. Dr. Riccardo Galeazzi used an unorthodox embalming process because the Pope wanted his remains to be preserved as God intended. I told you he didn't want to be embalmed or made up. Galeazzi's viewers employed an experimental succession of oils and resins and wrapped the body in plastic instead of draining the fluids. The carcass decomposed due to extreme heat and poor air circulation. The corpse turned brilliant green when its chest exploded during the funeral procession. Number 19. The Essex inspires Moby Dick. On August 12, 1819, the whale ship Essex left Nantucket for South America. Tragic events occurred after a year on the cruise. The ship was sunk by a giant sperm whale in November 1820, forcing the survivors to board whaleboats. They spent over 3 months aboard these small boats on the ocean with just enough food and supplies. Looking at them, I'm fine. If Empire doesn't fiddle, God and violin. You hear me? The men slowly died and the others had to eat them. They even drew lots to decide who would die to feed the group. The incident inspired Herman Melville's great American novel, as 8 of the 21 men survived. Number 18. Nutty Putty Cave Incident. A nightmare-like death befell John Edwards Jones. Jones became stuck in Utah's Nutty Putty Cave with his brother on November 24, 2009. The 26-year-old trapped himself upside down in a tiny passageway thinking it was the birth canal. His 28-hour compression and inversion made it difficult for him. Due to Jones' dangerous position, rescuers failed to extricate him with a rope and pulley system. He died of cardiac arrest. Jones' body was left in place and buried in the enclosed cave. Number 17. Minnie Dean. New Zealand abolished capital punishment in 1989 after establishing it in 1840. On that day, 85 prisoners were executed. Minnie Dean was the only woman affected. Dean was paid to adopt other people's children as a baby farmer. She adopted several children, but many died or disappeared. Dean gained notice when his newborn mortality rates were above the usual. She was arrested for murder. It's unclear how many individuals died under Dean's care, but 3 bodies were found in her yard after her arrest. She was executed on September 2, 1844. Number 16. Maximilan Robespierre dies. One of the most controversial figures of the French Revolution was lawyer Maximilan Robespierre. After being loved, Robespierre's aspirations ruined his reputation. Robespierre failed to commit himself with a pistol after his arrest on July 27, 1794. His jaw was bandaged after the incident. Execution followed at the Place de la Révolution. Robespierre's jaw was left free after the officer removed the bandage. Reportedly, he suffered until beheading. Number 15. Donner Party. Several pioneer families formed the Donner Party in the mid-1840s to move from the Midwest to California. The group took the Hastings Cutoff, a more demanding shortcut, halfway through the trek. Truckee Lake was where the party camped to survive the winter. Many died in this region's severe cold. The survivors ate their dead companions due to the lack of supplies. The party had 87 members, but only 48 survived. They survived by cannibalizing. 14. Nikolai Krasnogorsky Experiments. The Pavlovian reaction is named after Soviet neurologist Ivan Pavlov's dog conditioning work. Science buff Pavlov ate when his dog rang a bell. Few knew that his tinkering had disastrous results. They were connected with a device to quantify saliva production from their glands when fed. Unfortunately, these devices were installed poorly. These test subjects were used by Krasnogorsky to demonstrate that humans may be conditioned like dogs. Number 13. Jonestown. The People's Temple was Jim Jones' 1970s apocalyptic cult. Jones founded Jonestown in a secluded Guyana locale with his flock. One of the most notorious American murders occurred there. The United States revealed troubling settlement facts. Congressman Leo Ryan visited Guyana with concerned Jonestown relatives and concluded his cult had failed. Ryan was shot at a nearby airstrip after Jones ordered his murder. Jones then gave his congregation a cyanide-laced drink, killing 909 people in one of the bloodiest American murders. Number 12. Stanford Prison Experiment. Does the situation outside of you, the institution, control your behavior, or does the things inside of you, your attitude, your values, your morality, control your behavior? From August 14, 1971, student volunteers played prisoners and jail authorities in this sociological test. Professor Philip Zimbardo led the experiment to examine prison guards' uncontrolled power. The experiment immediately went awry, with some guard students resorting to harsh psychological abuse and harassment. Zimbardo's prodding frequently damaged the experiment's technique, making it controversial. Some convicts recognized the study's hypothesis and acted accordingly, which is a harmful demand characteristic of psychological research. 11. Octavia Hatcher. The story of Octavia Hatcher is popular in Pikeville, Kentucky. According to folklore, the young mother became ill and died a few months after giving birth to a boy who died shortly after. Her burial was swift due to the southern heat. Locals dug up Hatcher's tomb and found she was in a coma. Scratches on the coffin and Hatcher's bloody nails show she woke awake. Despite doubts, a Big Sandy Heritage Center board member said, most local historians do agree that Hatcher did fall ill and was buried alive. 10. King Tut's Curse. The narrative is eerie even if you don't believe in curses. In 1922, Egyptologist Howard Carter discovered King Tutankhamun's tomb and his team became ill. An infected mosquito bite killed banker Lord Carnarvon, who died first from blood poisoning. In 12 years, additional excavation workers died, including Carter's secretary, Richard Bethel. Carter died in 1939, nearly 20 years after opening the tomb. However, the curse is still blamed. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle attributed Carnarvon's death to elementals. Number 9. Animal owner tips. Can you imagine killing your pet? Unfortunately, many pre-World War II Brits faced such a reality. Wartime pets roamed the streets after bombings or ate rationed food, making them a nuisance. A committee worked on the issue and their answer was horrible. Captive bolt pistols were advertised as the standard instrument for the humane destruction of domestic animals. An estimated 750,000 pets were killed in a week, more than 107,000 every day. Number 8. Reusing dead soldiers. If there is anything in this world about which I know positively nothing, it is agriculture. No farming material is superior to human bone. Over 2 million Napoleonic war troops died, and survivors often looted the corpses for supplies. According to an 1822 British publication, human bone was used as substantial manure. Number 7. Space knock. Imagine you're an astronaut drifting through space on your comfy spacecraft when you hear a knock. It might drive you insane. The thing is that I'm still scared. I'm really scared. Nobody will mourn for me. No one will pray for my soul. Astronaut and famous knock hearer Yang Liwei was creeped out but didn't go crazy. Liwei tried to reproduce the knocking sound on Earth but failed. The spacecraft may have generated the weird banging sound as future Chinese astronauts reported hearing it. Number 6. Hinterk Murders. There are many frightening real crime stories, but the Hinterk Murders are particularly unsettling. These occurred in 1922 on a Bavarian farm. Andries Gruber found snow footprints from the forest to his residence before the murders. The family heard attic footsteps that night but didn't call the police. Every family member, including their daughter, grandchildren, and maid, died on March 31. 4 days later, the bodies were found. Number 5. Henry Rathbone's sad but creepy case. Everyone knows about Lincoln's assassination, but Major Henry Rathbone's participation is less known. Rathbone and his fiancée attended the performance with Lincoln and tried to subdue Booth after he assassinated the president. His artery was severed. Although Rathbone lived, he blamed himself for Lincoln's death and went insane. Police found a crazed Rathbone and his wife's body. 4th. Chernobyl. Throughout the spring of 1986, the world prayed to avoid radiation contamination. Chernobyl's reactor detonated on April 26, spewing radiation into the atmosphere. This radiation was then blown far and wide. Nearby cities were evacuated and are now ghost towns. Numerous victims died horribly from acute radiation syndrome when their bodies shut down. Chernobyl, a radioactive nightmare, terrified millions. Number 3. Vesuvius eruption. The Romans faced hell on earth in 79 AD when Mount Vesuvius erupted. The explosion released a 21-mile gas and debris cloud that blocked the sun. A tsunami in the Bay of Naples and ash showers in adjacent cities followed. Pyroclastic flows, 18,000-degree Fahrenheit clouds of gas and volcanic materials that may move 400 miles per hour were unleashed by the volcano. The eruption buried Pompeii, Herculaneum, Oplontis, and Stabia, killing at least 1,500 people and presumably many more. Number 2. Mary Celeste. Many ghost ship legends exist, but Mary Celeste is perhaps the most famous. The Canadian sailing ship Amazon was destroyed and sold to Americans, who renamed her the Mary Celeste. The ghost ship was located off the Azores on December 4, 1872. The sails were up and not furled, and it wasn't leaking. The boat structure was unharmed otherwise. That fateful 1872 voyage's puzzle will haunt us forever. Mary Celeste will remain a mystery. First, plague, riots, refugees. Medieval men faced Armageddon during the Black Death, which lasted 3 years from 1348 to 1350. The Black Death was the deadliest infectious illness epidemic in history, killing 30 to 60% of Europe's population. But it also turned into what's probably the closest thing we've ever had to a real-life zombie movie. To prevent escape, London isolated plague sufferers in their homes with armed guards. Quarantined people often attacked and killed guards in response. Order collapsed and tight-knit communities split apart. Did you like it? Tell us what you think of the video in the comments section below, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting videos.